What's up, everybody? Matt Kajeski here, back again with the Odd Shopper channel. And today we're talking some college basketball bets ahead of Super Tuesday, January the 31st. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. And if you're listening on podcast, please leave a rating and review over there as well. We are brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, and they have a no-brainer offer for you that is only available for a limited time. Right now, you can bet $5 on any game of your choosing, Whether it wins or loses, you are going to get $200 in free bets. So you can take advantage of this by clicking the link in the video description below, heading over to DraftKings Sportsbook, making a deposit of at least $5, placing $5 wager on any team of your choosing, then you're just automatically going to get $200 in free bets. The legal age for gambling is 21 in most states, or if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, we'll dive into today's games. You can use that DraftKings promo maybe on one of these. A couple games we've taken so far, and we're going to talk about a couple looking for certain numbers. One we took last night was Kentucky minus 6.5. Seems bouncing around a little bit. Of course, we have an insider Discord where we talk about some of these lines ahead of time and try to gain some line value. Kentucky, they'll be battling Ole Miss, and they really have every advantage here. Per Ken Palm, they rank 34th overall, Ole Miss 99th. Strength of schedule, Ole Miss does have an edge here, surprisingly. I mean, both these teams play in the SEC, so you're going to see pretty good strength of schedules. But the biggest thing in the entire game is the status of Matthew Morrell, who's now missed the last two games for Ole Miss. They've gotten dismantled without him, lost to Missouri 89-77, lost to Oklahoma State, most recently in the SEC crossover, and that was 82-60, so absolute blowout there. Now, Ole Miss, even prior to Morrell's departure, only one conference win that came against South Carolina, so most of their record is bolstered by non-conference play. Kentucky themselves, fresh off a loss to Kansas, but they have this far superior resume overall, and they really hold every advantage. Efficiency-wise, offense, defense, they're 74th in height. Mississippi is 151st. Rebounding, I mean, with Shibwe, this is going to suit most teams. They're 25th. Ole Miss is 68th. They rank 65th in three-point shooting percentage, which is surprising to see. That's the area where they really struggle against Kansas, which cost them the game. But on the interior with Shibwe, they hold advantages there. It's really every single thing in this game points to Kentucky and how much points does Morrell value against the spread? How much is he worth against the spread? And to me, I think this is priced kind of efficiently as if he's playing. I think if Morrell's out, you probably see this spike a little closer to 8, 9, maybe even 10 in some spots. So I think there's still a little bit of value on the Kentucky side. Next one we'll talk about is Indiana taking on Maryland. Indiana is +3 right now. I think this is one to take now, one I have taken. It's a line that's difficult to price mathematically because of the injuries to Indiana this year. Haven't had Xavier Johnson. Race Thompson did return, and he's massive for this Indiana defense on the interior. But he still hasn't played full minutes for a variety of reasons. At first, he was ramping up. In their most recent game over the weekend, he got in foul trouble almost instantly, and he played limited minutes because of that here too. But this Maryland team does hold, this Indiana team does hold advantages over Maryland. Maryland is their opponent. Indiana's 18th overall at Ken Palm. Maryland's 32nd. Strength of schedule is pretty close. Height pretty close for these teams. But offensive efficiency, Indiana's 18th. Maryland is 72nd. Defensive efficiency is almost even. And you have pretty strong defense across the board for both of these teams. The one potential matchup that Maryland might be able to exploit is the perimeter defense of Indiana. The problem is Maryland only shoots, they rank 314th in three-point percentage this year. Maryland does not have the shooters to really exploit a defense that can be vulnerable on the perimeter. I mean, Indiana plays with Race Thompson, Trace Jackson Davis on the interior, so this makes a lot of sense. Meanwhile, Indiana's a team that can play not just through those two bigs, but Jalen Hood-Schifino's off one of the best games of his career. Indiana ranks 18th in three-point percentage, so this is a very good team on the interior. They're, despite having almost equal effective height, Indiana's way out-rebounding Maryland. They're 42nd at rebounding. Maryland is 151st. And even turnovers suit this Indiana team a little bit when you look at the margins between them. Right now, I think this ultimately comes down to you're getting some value with Indiana because of the injuries, but this is probably pretty close to the efficient price. I think +3 is completely fine to bet. couple other games I haven't bet, but we'll wait on. Maybe we'll get a better line later in the day. First one, Kansas State taking on Kansas. Have a lot of interest in this Kansas State team, just in the Big 12 in general. And right now they're +7. I think we might get a better number on that. If we do, I'm probably going to back the Wildcats here. Overall, Kansas is 9th at KenPom. Kansas State is 25th. Kansas actually has the number 1 strength of schedule in the country right now. But Kansas State has an effective height advantage. They're 73rd. Kansas is 140th. Kansas State just returned David and Gesson, who gives them more depth, especially among their bigs, which I think is important here, trying to defend Jalen Wilson. And at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to for me. You have 2 good players on this Kansas team in Jalen Wilson and Grady Dick. Grady Dick being really the only premier shooter for this team. Jalen Wilson's pretty good himself. But outside of that, you don't have strong shooters with KJ Adams. He doesn't shoot at all, really. DeJuan Harris and Kevin McCullough, these aren't the best shooters. And Kansas State defends the perimeter very well. They're 11th in perimeter defense. Meanwhile, on the interior, yes, Jalen Wilson, he's at least in the conversation for player of the year. I think he's quite a bit behind both Zach Edey and Trace Jackson Davis. But that's where this Kansas team has struggled, or has excelled a lot. Kansas State definitely doesn't struggle to defend the interior at all. And that comes down to they have Key Johnson, Naquan Tomlin. Getting back David and Gesson is huge for this team. Ismail Massoud is a player that they use around 20 minutes a game on the interior. A lot of the advantages Kansas typically has, Kansas State is well equipped to defend. So I think this comes down to the number being too wide. If money comes in on Kansas throughout the day, we'll back Kansas State. And last one I haven't bet yet because I think we might get a better number, is Wake Forest taking on Duke. Seeing 8.5, have seen 9 in some spots. These teams match up fairly well, aside from the Wake Forest defense, which we'll talk about. But you look at the 2 teams overall. Duke plays a lot through their bigs, and we know Filipkowski's been awesome this year. And in terms of effective height, Duke is 3rd in the country. Wake Forest is actually 4th, which I think surprises a lot of people. And you have the Dariq Whitehead situation. He's questionable. The quotes from Shire were, he had a good practice on Monday, but he wouldn't play if he couldn't practice on Tuesday. That essentially means nothing to me. I have no idea if he's going to be active. If he practiced on Monday, why wouldn't he be able to practice on Tuesday? I don't know the information. It seems like he's just playing coy, and we'll see. But looks like a game time decision. I think if he's active, you're probably going to get a better number for Wake Forest. And I don't know if it makes a huge difference here. He actually had a good game out of Derek Lively in his place in the most recent game. But overall, you look at these 2 teams stylistically, to me, it basically comes down to if Wake Forest defense can hold up even remotely against Duke. So you basically have 2 kind of differing offenses and defenses. Duke can't score, at least not well. They're 177th in 2-point percentage. That clashes against Wake, who's 235th in defensive defense. So it's all right, the immovable object versus the unstoppable force, which is also the case from 3. Duke outside the top 250 in 3-point percentage, while Wake Forest is just barely inside the top 250 in 3-point defense. On the other side, you have Duke, who actually excels on defense, and Wake Forest, who's really good at scoring. Wake Forest is 46th in 2-point offensive efficiency. Duke is 77th on defense. Wake Forest is 35th in the country in 3-point percentage. Duke is 32nd defending there. So, okay, you have a poor Duke offense versus a poor Wake defense and an awesome Wake offense against a good Duke defense. At some point, it's just going to be too many points with the stylistics of this game. And I think at this point, 9 is the number I'm looking for. 8.5, if you just want action on the game, that's the side I prefer. But that'll do it for us today with the Odd Shopper channel. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment and let me know what you think of these games. And hit the thumbs up button, subscribe on the way out. We'll be doing these videos every day except Sunday, so make sure to check out the future VODs. Until then, we'll see you guys next time, and good luck.